Two men in suits knock on your door on a Saturday morning. You are having your coffee. They show you a badge and say they need to ask you a few questions about an investigation. Your first instinct is to open the door, offer them a seat, and answer everything they ask. After all, you are an honest person. You have lived your whole life doing the right thing. But that instinct right there is exactly what can cost you everything. Stay until the end, because I'm going to give you the exact sentences, word for word, that you need to say in that moment. Simple sentences that anyone can memorize and that the law guarantees you have every right to use. Let me tell you about Harold, 73 years old, retired, living in a quiet neighborhood in Phoenix, Arizona. A good man who paid his taxes his whole life, raised two kids, and never had a problem with the law. One Tuesday afternoon, two agents knocked on his front door, saying they were investigating a financial matter connected to his Social Security number. Harold got nervous, but figured that being upfront would clear everything up fast. He invited them inside. He offered them water. He started answering their questions one by one. He talked about his pension, his bank account, some money his daughter had transferred to help him after his wife passed. In less than 40 minutes, without realizing it, Harold had handed over enough information to complicate his own situation in ways that took almost a year to untangle. Harold had done nothing wrong. The problem was what he said and how he said it. Now you need to understand why this happens so often, especially with older Americans. When someone shows up with a badge and a confident tone, the natural instinct is to cooperate. The generation that is 65 and older was raised in a time when respecting authority was a sign of good character, and that is something to be proud of. The problem is that instinct can be used against you. Trained agents know that a polite and well-meaning person will want to explain themselves, will want to show they have nothing to hide, will want to get the whole thing over with as quickly as possible. And it is during that explanation that the most sensitive information comes out. You talk about your income, your assets, your daily routine. Every detail you offer voluntarily can be interpreted in ways you never expected. And once you have said it, you cannot take it back. There is something most people do not know, and it changes everything. The Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution gives every citizen the right not to say anything that could be used against them. That means you are not required to answer questions that could put you in a difficult position, even if you are completely innocent. This right exists precisely to protect well-meaning people who, in the stress of the moment, end up saying more than they should. Courts across the country have upheld this in case after case. Using this right is not disrespect. It is not a sign of guilt. It is protection that the founders of this country built specifically for moments like this one. But before I give you the exact sentences, I need to tell you one more thing. Staying completely silent without saying anything does not always work either. If you shut the door without any explanation, if you seem agitated or evasive, that can be noted as suspicious behavior. So it is not about talking everything through, and it is not about disappearing without a word. It is about knowing exactly the right words to protect yourself without creating more problems. Comment right now down below. How old are you, and what state are you watching from? I want to know who is on the other side of the screen. Here are the sentences. Write them down if you need to. Print them out and tape them to the inside of your front door where only you can see them. When someone knocks and says they represent any kind of authority and wants to ask you questions, you say calmly and politely. First sentence, please show me your full credentials and your official photo ID before we go any further. Second sentence, I am happy to be respectful, but I do not consent to you entering my home. Third sentence, I will not be answering any questions without my attorney present. Fourth sentence, if you have documents for me, please leave them in my mailbox. Fifth sentence, I will be following up through my legal representative. Sixth sentence, thank you for coming by. Have a good day. Goodbye. These 6 sentences do very specific things at the same time. Asking for credentials is your right, and it also protects you from scammers who pose as federal agents, which happens every single year across the country. Not consenting to entry protects your home, your documents, and everything inside it. The moment you voluntarily let someone in, anything they see can be used. Saying you will not answer without an attorney is not an admission of anything. It is the exercise of a constitutional right that cannot be held against you. Asking them to leave documents in the mailbox gives you time to read everything carefully and with help. And closing the conversation politely, make sure your behavior cannot be described as hostile or uncooperative in any report. If they push back and say it is just a quick conversation and that you have nothing to fear if you have done nothing wrong, you repeat calmly, I understand, but I still prefer to exercise my right not to answer without legal guidance. Thank you. And you stop there. You do not need to add anything else. Now there is a situation most people do not think about, and it can catch you completely off guard. What if you are not the one who answers the door? Your spouse, your adult child, your grandchild, the person who helps around the house. Anyone who answers your door for you needs to know what to do. Sit down with your family this week. Explain it simply. If anyone comes to the door saying they represent a government agency and wants to ask questions, the answer is always the same. Do not open the door fully. Do not answer any questions. Say that the person they need to speak with is not available and that they can leave any documents in the mailbox. Close the door politely and call you or someone you trust immediately. This matters because many complicated situations start with a well-meaning family member who answered questions thinking they were helping. Protecting your home depends on everyone who lives or spends time there knowing what to do. There is one more layer to this that very few people know about. There is a real difference between someone who shows up wanting to ask questions and someone who shows up with a court-ordered warrant signed by a federal judge. In the first case, which is by far the most common, you are not required to open your door or answer anything. In the second case, with a proper warrant in hand, the situation is different and you need to follow what the document says. But even then, you do not have to answer questions beyond confirming your name and address. Everything else, you can say you prefer to speak with an attorney before responding. If you do not have an attorney and cannot afford one, you have options. Every state has a legal aid office that provides free or low-cost legal help to seniors. Having that number written down somewhere easy to find can make all the difference when you are under pressure. Put it on the refrigerator, save it in your phone, write it in your address book. If this kind of information matters to you, imagine having access to it every single week. This channel is here to help older Americans understand their rights, stay protected, and avoid situations that could have been prevented with the right knowledge. Subscribe right now and hit the bell so you never miss a video. It is free and it could make a real difference for you and for the people you love. And there is one more thing you need to know before you close this video. There is a type of scam growing across the United States that uses this exact same situation. People showing up pretending to be federal agents to pressure older Americans into handing over money or personal information. They know that older people tend to want to resolve things quickly, tend to trust a badge, and tend to be afraid of legal trouble. In the next video, I'm going to show you exactly how to tell the difference between a real federal agent and a scammer in under 10 seconds, the signs that give them away immediately, and what to do to protect yourself without putting your safety at risk. Do not miss that one.